The ballroom glittered with chandeliers as the crowd raised their glasses to toast the couple of the night. Cameras flashed, a string quartet played softly. At the center of it all stood Vanessa Adebayo, the elegant daughter of multimillionaire textile moguls. Dressed in a stunning rose gold gown, she looked every bit the perfect bride-to-be. Her fiancé, Tunji, knelt before her with a ring that sparkled like hope itself. But just before she could say yes, her phone buzzed violently in her clutch. She tried to ignore it, but something in her gut told her to look. With trembling hands, she opened the message. It was a video sent by Mama Esther, her family's longtime housekeeper and confidant. Vanessa's heart sank as she watched the footage. Tunji, just 2 hours before the party, passionately kissing a woman in a hotel parking lot. The timestamp confirmed everything. The betrayal was fresh, raw. She blinked back the sting in her eyes. Her voice stuck in her throat as the crowd chanted, "Say yes, say yes." But then another call came in. "Vanessa, your mom! She collapsed. We rushed her to Cedar Crest ER. Come quick!" Mama Esther sobbed on the other end. Vanessa dropped the phone. Her heels clicked sharply against the ballroom floor as she stormed past Tunji, past the guests and out into the night without saying a word. The engagement was over before it began. Across town in a dimly lit club, pulsing with music and sin, Jidenna Okonkwo, first son of billionaire oil tycoon Chief Okonkwo, downed another shot of whiskey. Models flanked him, laughing at jokes he couldn't remember making. His shirt was unbuttoned halfway down, and the scent of smoke and spilled liquor clung to him like a second skin. Just as he was about to drag a girl into the dance floor, his phone rang. "Come home now," his father barked. "Your mother's liver is failing. We're at the hospital." Jidenna sobered instantly. He left the club in a daze, pushing past paparazzi and partygoers into the night that no longer looked like fun. At Cedar Crest Hospital, time slowed. Vanessa arrived first, heels in hand, dress torn slightly at the hem. She pushed through the double doors of the ER, her chest heaving. "My mother, Mrs. Adebayo. I got a call. She's being attended to. Please wait," the nurse said gently. She dropped onto one of the hard plastic chairs in the waiting area, her face pale and blank. Her phone buzzed again. Calls from Tunji, texts from nosy socialites, news alerts already speculating on the failed engagement. She turned it off. Minutes later, Jidenna walked in, still smelling faintly of tobacco and cologne, eyes bloodshot. He asked for his mother, then took the seat farthest from Vanessa. But the waiting room wasn't big enough to keep fate from nudging two broken souls together. Their eyes met briefly, nothing more than strangers in shared sorrow. "I hate hospitals," Jidenna muttered, half to himself. Vanessa didn't respond, but the next time the nurse came out and called a name, they both stood at the same time. "Mrs. Adebayo's condition has stabilized. Mrs. Okonkwo is being moved to a private room." They sat down again, and this time they didn't look away. The hospital lights were dimmed to a soft yellow in the evening. Nurses whispered down the hallways, and machines beeped softly from patient rooms. The quiet hum of life hung in the air like a fragile thread. Vanessa sat in the visitor's lounge outside the VIP suite. Her mother was resting, sedated and stable, but the fear hadn't yet left her system. Her phone lay face down beside her. She hadn't touched it since she turned it off earlier. The image of Tunji's betrayal still played in her head like a silent film. A low grunt from across the room pulled her from her thoughts. Jidenna was sprawled on a waiting couch, scrolling through his phone with glazed eyes. His designer hoodie was wrinkled, and his wristwatch, probably worth a car, hung loosely from his hand. He caught her staring. "Long night?" he asked, raising an eyebrow. Vanessa hesitated. "Isn't every night long in a hospital?" Jidenna smirked. "Touché." An awkward silence settled again. Then he stood up, walked over, and without asking, sat in the chair beside her. "I'm Jidenna," he said, extending his hand. She stared at it for a second before taking it reluctantly. "Vanessa." "Nice to meet you, Vanessa. Even though this isn't exactly the best setting." She nodded. "Your mom?" He sighed. "Liver issues. Years of hard drinking. You?" "My mom collapsed. Blood pressure. Stress-related. She, she's been dealing with a lot. He nodded in quiet understanding. They talked for a while about doctors, how strange hospitals smell, how food never tastes right in a place like this. Jidenna cracked a joke or two. Vanessa even smiled once, though she quickly caught herself. It was strange. She had no business smiling. Her mother was in the ICU and her engagement had just fallen apart. But there was something disarming about Jidenna's presence. "Do you come here often?" he asked. Vanessa tilted her head. "Are you trying to flirt with me in a hospital?" Jidenna chuckled. "What can I say? I'm versatile." She rolled her eyes, but her lips twitched. Later that night, their mothers were moved into rooms directly beside each other. The nurses mentioned that Mrs. Adebayo and Mrs. Okonkwo had known each other from several charity boards and women's investment groups. In fact, the two women had been close years ago before life and family pulled them apart. The next day, their mothers requested a brief visit from their children. It was nothing serious, just to reassure them, hold hands, laugh at old stories. And so Jidenna and Vanessa kept crossing paths. Morning after morning, evening after evening, they'd meet in the waiting lounge. Sometimes with coffee, sometimes in silence. Sometimes he'd bring her chin-chin from the vendor outside. Sometimes she'd bring him a newspaper. And just like that, an accidental rhythm began. One afternoon, as they both left the hospital after visiting hours, Jidenna offered her a ride. Vanessa hesitated. "Why would I get in a car with a man I just met?" "Because the hospital's parking lot is dark and you're wearing heels. Also, I have air conditioning." She chuckled and got in. On the ride home, the conversation turned a little more personal. "So," Vanessa asked, "what do you do? Besides party, I mean." He smirked. "I'm offended. You think that's all I do?" "Isn't it? I run part of my dad's real estate arm. I'm not just the spoiled son you see in the blogs. And yet you still sound like one." He glanced at her, surprised, then laughed. "You're brutal." "I'm honest," he nodded. "Fair enough." Vanessa smiled faintly, but her guard remained firmly in place. What she didn't know was that Jidenna had started looking forward to their random run-ins, that beneath his carefree front, something in him was softening. She wasn't like the girls he met in clubs. She had fire, substance, and scars that made her eyes darker than they should have been. He liked her, more than he meant to. Weeks passed. The sterile hospital environment slowly became familiar terrain. Vanessa and Jidenna were now regular fixtures in the visitors' lounge, so much so that the nurses began referring to them as the quiet couple. Their mother's health improved steadily. The two women rekindled their friendship like no time had passed, exchanging laughter and memories between IV drips and blood pressure checks. Whenever Jidenna visited his mother, she always had something new to say about that sweet Vanessa girl. Likewise, Vanessa's mom couldn't stop teasing her daughter about that handsome Okonkwo boy with the silly grin. But it wasn't as simple as their parents made it out to be. One evening, after a long visit, Jidenna and Vanessa sat on a bench just outside the hospital cafe. The sun was setting, casting a golden hue across the car park. Jidenna had just bought her Puff Puff and a malt drink, something of a ritual by now. "You know," he said, "I've never done this before." "Bought Puff Puff for a woman?" Vanessa teased. He chuckled. "No, spent weeks in one place without running away, without partying, without distractions." Vanessa looked at him, genuinely curious. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because you're different," he said softly, "and I think I'm starting to care." Her hand froze mid-reach for the Puff Puff. Her heart kicked up speed. "Jidenna," he leaned forward, "I know I come with a reputation, and I won't lie, I earned it. But I'm trying, Vanessa. These days I don't want to be anywhere else but here, with you." She said nothing, her lips slightly parted, her chest tightened with confusion. She had been here before, just in different packaging. Men pretending to be different, saying the right things, painting dreams they had no intention of fulfilling, and then breaking her. "Please don't," she finally whispered. "Don't ruin this for me." He blinked. "Ruin what?" "This space, this peace. I've just come out of something ugly. I'm not ready for another Another disappointment. He nodded slowly. I get it, but I'm not trying to play you. She stood up, clutching her purse. Even if you're not ready, and I can't be your experiment. With that, she walked away, leaving him speechless under the glowing streetlights. The next few days at the hospital were quiet. Vanessa came at different times now. She avoided the visitors' lounge. Her conversations with her mother were shorter. Her eyes were often red from tears she didn't want to explain. Jidenna, meanwhile, went from sulking to outright restlessness. He couldn't focus on work. He skipped a few visits to the hospital altogether, claiming meetings to his mother. The bottle started calling again. The club sent invites. But none of it sparked anything in him anymore. Nothing did. Not without her. On a rainy Friday afternoon, their mothers were discharged. There were hugs, gifts, and a promise to host a thank you dinner when they were both strong again. Vanessa arrived late for the discharge. Jidenna was there, but she barely met his eyes. He tried to say something, to make a joke even, but her guard was back up. She left in her private chauffeur-driven Lexus, leaving behind the puff-puff, the bench, and him. Alone. That weekend, Jidenna walked into his penthouse alone. He stood at the bar and looked at the whiskey bottle in his hand. Then he dropped it. The glass shattered into 1,000 pieces on the marble floor. I'm done, he whispered, breath shaking. The player in him was dying. All that remained was a man who wanted to be seen, heard, and loved. The week after their mothers were discharged felt like a dull ache that refused to fade. Jidenna tried to drown his thoughts in work, overseeing real estate projects in Lekki, but his mind never stayed focused. Vanessa had dug her way into him, deeper than he intended, deeper than he understood. The puff-puff jokes, her sarcastic comebacks, the way her face lit up when she talked about her late father. It was all unbearable now that she was gone. He stopped going to clubs. The sight of liquor made him sick, and for the first time in a long while, the flashy girls in his DM held no temptation. He wanted her. Only her. Vanessa, on the other hand, threw herself into work like a woman determined to outrun her heart. The launch of her mother's new textile line was around the corner, and she buried herself in designs, models, fittings, and meetings. Yet every now and then she'd find herself pausing during a Zoom call or gazing at her untouched smoothie, thinking of Jidenna. She hated herself for it. He was just like the others, wasn't he? Charming, funny, temporary. Or was he? The following Friday, Vanessa was working late in her office at Victoria Island. The storm outside raged, thunder rumbling like a warning. Her secretary had already gone home when the intercom buzzed. There's a Mr. Jidenna Okonkwo here to see you. She froze. Tell him I'm busy, she replied instinctively. But 10 minutes later, he walked in anyway, drenched, holding a bouquet of white roses and puff-puff in a neatly wrapped paper bag. I bribed your security with jollof rice, he said, wiping water from his brow. Vanessa stood up, clearly unimpressed. You should leave. He placed the flowers gently on her desk. I will, but let me speak first. She folded her arms. I don't know what love is supposed to feel like, but I know what it felt like when you stopped talking to me, when you walked away, and I hated every second of it. Vanessa's jaw tightened. I used to chase parties, women, chaos, because it filled a void, he continued. But then I met you. You didn't try to impress me. You didn't care about my money. You made me real. Silence. Then Vanessa sighed. You don't even know what you want, Jidenna. I do now, he said, stepping closer. I want you, and I know I don't deserve a second chance, but I'm asking anyway. Her voice cracked. Why should I believe anything you say? I've been lied to, used, cheated on. I don't have energy left for heartbreak. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a photo. This is her, the girl who broke me, he said, handing it over. 6 years ago, I bought a ring, planned a proposal on the beach, and she sent me a text saying she was marrying someone richer. Vanessa stared at the old photo, then back at him. I ran from love since then, buried it under ego, parties, everything. But you, his voice trembled now, you changed something, and I don't want to lose that. Lose you. Days passed. She didn't call. He didn't come again. But he kept sending her little notes, handwritten on white cards, sometimes with a quote, sometimes a joke, always with his name. Puff Puff deliveries came every morning with her coffee. He never pressed, never demanded. He just waited. Then one Saturday afternoon, she called him. Meet me at Elagushi Beach. The sun was low when he arrived, dressed simply in jeans and a black shirt. Vanessa stood barefoot in the sand, arms crossed. This is the place you were going to propose to her? She asked softly. He nodded. And now you bring me here? I needed you to see the scar, he said, voice low. So you understand I'm not playing. She blinked, fighting tears. You broke through the wall, Vanessa, and I'm terrified. But I want this. I want you. For a moment, all she heard was the waves. Then slowly she walked to him. She placed her hand gently on his chest. Then let's start again, she whispered. And just like that, something broken began to heal. Healing didn't happen in a day, but it began in stolen moments, in gentle laughter, in the silence that no longer felt heavy. After the beach, Jidenna and Vanessa didn't jump into a whirlwind romance. Instead, they took it slow, cautious, real. Their first dinner wasn't at a fancy restaurant, but at a quiet spot in Ikoyi, a rooftop garden cafe where they shared suya and zobo under fairy lights. They talked, really talked, about their parents, about their dreams, about what they feared most. For Vanessa, it was being used again, becoming a stepping stone for another man's ambition. For Jidenna, it was failure, proving everyone right about him, that he was just a rich boy with no backbone, no depth. Each date peeled away a layer of mistrust. Each call, each text, each shared inside joke stitched together pieces of two broken people into something whole. Their parents, of course, were overjoyed. Mrs. Okonkwo couldn't stop sending subtle marriage inspiration pins on WhatsApp. Mrs. Adebayo kept asking Vanessa, so when is he coming for family lunch again, even if he had just left the house 2 hours earlier? The older women had long healed from their health scares and had thrown themselves into community events, dragging their kids along with them. Vanessa and Jidenna found themselves sitting side by side at charity galas and business conferences, quietly holding hands under the table while pretending to focus on speeches. To everyone around them, they were perfect. But the real magic happened when no one was looking, like when he waited for her outside her office just to walk her to her car, or when she texted him voice notes at midnight after a stressful day, and he called back just to say, "You're doing great," or the time she got caught in traffic and arrived at his apartment soaked from the rain, and instead of being annoyed, he handed her a hoodie and made hot amala with ogbono soup. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't loud. It was real. One evening, as they lay on the floor of his living room, surrounded by takeout boxes and open architectural plans for a new Lagos waterfront project, Vanessa turned to him. "Do you think we'll mess this up?" she asked. He looked at her. "Probably, a few times." She chuckled, but he took her hand. "But I'll always come back. No more running, no more games." She stared into his eyes, trying to find a trace of the arrogant party boy she first met. He was gone. In his place was a man who had tasted peace and had no intention of letting it go. Weeks turned into months. On her birthday, Jidenna organized a private dinner on a boat that sailed across the Lagos Lagoon at sunset. Just the two of them, dressed in white, music soft, stars overhead. As they danced barefoot on the deck, he paused. "I never told you this," he began, reaching into his pocket. Her breath caught. He knelt. Vanessa gasped. "Not because I think it'll fix everything, but because you're the one person I want beside me, flaws and all. Will you marry me?" Her eyes welled with tears, and this time there was no phone buzz, no betrayal, only love. "Yes," she whispered. The city went wild. Within days, every blog in Lagos carried the headline, from Playboy to Prince Charming, billionaire heir Jidenna Okonkwo, engaged to fashion royalty Vanessa Adebayo. The wedding planning began almost instantly, and as expected, nothing would be done in half measures. Their mothers joined forces like a stylish tornado, locking down the most luxurious venues, calling celebrity decorators, booking headline musicians, lace from Italy, gold-plated invitations, food tastings from the finest chefs. But in the middle of all the luxury, Vanessa whispered to Jidenna one night, "Let's not forget what really matters. It's us, not the noise." And he nodded. Always us. The morning of the wedding dawned like a royal affair. Lagos, a city that rarely paused for anything, seemed to hold its breath. Traffic slowed around the island, not because of gridlock, but because of curiosity. Everyone wanted a glimpse of the event of the year. Social media buzzed with hashtags. #Jidenna and Vanessa 2025. #Love in Lagos #, from player to partner. The wedding was hosted at the private gardens of the Monarch, one of the most exclusive venues in Ikoyi. With crystal-draped canopies, floating floral arrangements, and silk tents imported from Morocco, the venue was transformed into a fairy tale under the West African sun. Every chair was gold-trimmed. The aisle was made of mirrored glass. The scent of jasmine, roses, and white orchids filled the air. It was luxury on a scale even Lagos hadn't seen in years. Inside the bridal suite, Vanessa stood before a full-length mirror. Her dress was a dream, hand-stitched with pearls and delicate lace, hugging her form like it had been sewn by love itself. Her hair was styled in a soft updo, adorned with gold hairpins shaped like butterflies. But it was her eyes that held the real story. They had known pain, disappointment, but now they held peace. Mrs. Adebayo wiped a tear as she helped fasten the final clasp of Vanessa's dress. "Your father would have been so proud." Vanessa smiled softly. "I hope I made the right choice." "You didn't make a perfect choice," her mother said. "You made a brave one, and that's what makes love real." Meanwhile, across the venue, Jidenna paced nervously in the groom's lounge. He looked breathtaking in his custom agbada, rich cream with gold embroidery, paired with polished loafers and coral beads around his wrist. His best man slapped him on the back. "Relax. You're about to marry the only woman who ever made you cancel club appearances for brunch with her mom." He laughed. "Yeah, it still feels unreal." His mother walked in, radiant in her aizooke. She held his face and whispered, "I prayed for this day, not just for you to get married, but for you to find peace. You found her, son." He swallowed hard. "Yes, I have." The ceremony began. As Vanessa walked down the aisle to the sound of soft Yoruba drums blended with violins, Jidenna felt the air leave his lungs. She was everything he'd run from and everything he didn't know he needed. Tears filled his eyes as she took his hand. Their vows weren't long. They were honest. "I never thought love could be safe," she whispered. "But you taught me that safety isn't about never being hurt. It's about healing together." He replied, voice shaking. "You saw a broken man and you stayed, not to fix me, but to walk beside me. And I'll never take that for granted." The crowd erupted as they were pronounced husband and wife. The reception was pure spectacle. Fireworks over the lagoon, performances from Nigeria's top Afrobeat stars, and a dance floor that never emptied. But at one point, Jidenna led Vanessa to the back garden, away from the crowd. "I got you something," he whispered. She looked up. "You already gave me the world." "No, this is personal." He handed her a small velvet box. Inside was a chain with a pendant, half gold, half silver, 2 broken pieces fused into one. "Our scars," he said, "together." She kissed him under the moonlight, barefoot in the grass. A year later, the Okonkwo's welcomed twin daughters, Zara and Zikora, born at the same hospital where their parents first met. The waiting room still stood, and sometimes when life got noisy, Jidenna and Vanessa would go back there, sit quietly on the same plastic chairs, and hold hands. Because their love didn't start with fireworks. It started with 2 tired hearts in a quiet room, and it grew into a forever they never saw coming.